Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Tammy Tuckey Show. My name is Tammy Tuckey, and it's good to see you. 2007 took us on an adventure with 12-year-old Lewis, an orphan looking to find answers in his past that appear in his future when he meets a special family called the Robinsons. Meet the Robinsons was the 47th animated Disney film released during a turbulent time for the Walt Disney Animation Studios, and yet it has one of the most positive messages out of all the Disney films. Keep moving forward. So tonight, I'm excited to reunite the film's cast and crew over the next 2 hours. And I want to invite each of you to join in on the fun by asking your questions in the YouTube chat. And I think it's to my right here. To my left, but to your right. So let's get started because I don't have a time machine that will help steal back that minute of introduction. And keep in mind, there will be spoilers. So first, I want to introduce the director of the film and who is also the voice of the bowler hat guy. And that is Steve Anderson. Let's bring out Steve. Hi, Steve.
Hi, everybody. Hi, Tammy.
It's good to see you. We got a lot of people
Great
in the
to
chat
see
already
you.
saying woo. Yay,
Woo.
yay.
Yeah, yay.
Hello.
All the expletives. Well, not all of them, but
we got somebody from the UK. Hi, James. We're so excited you're joining in, everybody. So yeah, keep chatting along. I'll pull comments as they come and questions so we can introduce the rest of our team this evening. So here we go. Let's keep going. We're going to introduce some of you who are watched the Atlantis panel may know our next two guests. So we have Ellen and Randy.
Hi, everybody. Hello.
Hey, you guys. Randy was the supervising animator for not only Franny, but Fritz, Petunia, Laszlo, and Tallulah. Tallulah, right? Yeah, Tallulah. I can't say it today. And Ellen, you were also the editor of this film.
I was.
So it's wonderful to have you guys back on the show. So welcome back.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
And we also have Michelle. Hi, Michelle.
Hi.
You're one of the writers of the film, so welcome and joining and having fun with us this evening.
Thank you.
And we have Dorothy McKim. Hi, Dorothy. She was
Hello.
the producer.
Hi, Dorothy.
Hello, everyone.
Look at your background. It looks fantastic.
Yeah.
wow.
That's great. Yeah.
I love it. Perfect.
Great.
Perfect theme. And Steve has all the other cool props in the background.
I have everything else.
So it's been 15 years since the film has come out, and I feel like it's one of those films where a lot of people, when you mention it, there's just a big smile that comes on their face because it's such a feel-good movie. Because I'm watching it earlier this week again, and I just cannot help but really laugh and smile throughout the whole thing, and of course cry at the end, but in a good way. So you have this really good feel-good movie that comes out. So the process of just making the film, what was it like? Was it just as much fun and as feel-good to make as it was for us to watch?
Take it, Dorothy.
Oh, we're all nodding our heads. Yes. It was actually my first time producing a film. And working with Steve, it was a dream come true, actually. He made my job so easy. And this entire team, it was a dream team. It was so fantastic, just everything about it. We had a lot of fun in our story room, pretty much in every room, editorial. It was a blast, honestly. It was probably one of the best experiences that I've had in my entire career at Disney. It's because of these wonderful people.
I'll second that. It was definitely my best experience. Yeah.
Yeah, it was fun.
It was fun, and like Dorothy said, a lot of it was just because of the people that you worked with. It was only my second film as a CG animator. I'd been doing traditional animation before. I worked on Chicken Little before this, but my first time supervising a CG on a CG film, and so it was a lot of new and learning stuff for me, and working with some other animators who had more experience in CG than I did made me a little nervous, but they were all super generous and they were all super kind. They were like, "Oh wow, you've been here for this long and you worked on Aladdin," and like, wow. And they were all very very kind about it, so it was really easy to work with them. And then of course Steve made it really great too, just because he had such a clear vision of what he wanted, and he had such a fun there was such a fun world, and the characters were a lot of fun and wacky and crazy, and I got to do different kinds of characters than I'd ever done before, and that was a lot of fun for me too.
Yeah, I mean, these movies always have their challenges. Nothing's easy, especially when you're making doing a creative endeavor, on such a large scale at such a big company. But it's I'm echoing what everybody says already. It's the people that you work with. It's the day-to-day. It's the jokes in the story room. It's the going on animation rounds and just seeing everybody and having fun and laughing about the shots that you're doing and going to editorial and enjoying the newest sequences that just came from story and seeing how Ellen put it together. And it's like all that stuff is what it's really all about, and that's where all the fun comes from, and that's where all the discovery comes from too. Like I feel like as a leader, all of us who have led teams, it's when you open the door for people to when you give them the freedom to create and bring their best, you just discover new things about your story or your film too every day. That's what's cool about it too, is you think you know what it is at the beginning, and then everybody brings so much more to the film than you could have ever imagined. So that's also just what makes it great.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And it was originally inspired by this book, A Day with Wilbur Robinson by William Joyce. So this book was released, I think, in 1990, and I had not heard of it at all. But it's similar in its story of a boy meets a friend, a neighborhood friend, and gets to meet their family, and is looking for the grandpa's teeth, I think is the premise of the book. And Steve actually sent me a couple of photos behind the scenes things. So we're going to show this during the evening so you guys can see. And Randy, you sent me a couple things too. But some of these are these from the book, Steve?
No, those are from our art director, Ruppel. Early on in the process, he just did these for fun, just kind of like some of it was to try. Yeah, we're trying to find a way to capture the book, to capture Bill Joyce's illustrations, but then also put it in 3 dimensions. And what's the lighting going to look like? What are the textures? What's the style? So it was A, for inspiration, but also B, to try to start answering some of those questions. So Robh just did these, and they were really cool, and we had them hanging up in the building. They're really inspiring.
And to give everybody a reminder, here are the Robinsons all together, because it's hard to keep track of everybody. But I love animated films that have an ensemble piece. I can't get enough of it, because it's just so fun to see all the interactions that you guys come up with, because everything has to be kind of planned out and to that point. So Randy did send me some of these. Will you
go back to that one? There's an Easter egg there, I bet.
Oh, okay.
I wonder if anybody saw. I noticed there. Tallulah has the building hat, and on top of the building hat, there's a little King Kong there. And we had to lose King Kong because we couldn't get the rights to it. But we had originally designed her to have King Kong up on the top of her building, which I thought was super cool. But
right.
But he made it into this publicity.
Oh, that's great.
I guess she did, yeah. So you did send us a couple of your drawings, Randy. So this is Fritz and Petunia.
Yeah, these were kind of early concepts when we were still kind of designing the characters, but Joe Mosier did the final designs.
Yeah, these are really great. Laszlo and Tallulah, of course.
Wow.
And you even have Steve's notes. See the little Post-its? Those are Steve's notes on there that he was giving me back.
Yeah, I'm trying to see with the zooming in a little bit. To see the notes.
Read them anyway.
My handwriting's always been terrible.
I kept them on there because I thought it was cool to
yeah, it's a part of the history here. And,
wow.
We're skipping a little bit ahead, but these are some of the photos that you did send me, Steve. So this was when almost everything was completed, I guess.
Yeah, we'd hit 100% in the animation department. On the kind of in the center right there with the blue striped short sleeve shirt is Mike Belzer, who is our anim soup for the whole project. And all the way to the left is Alex Mark, who was kind of Mike's co-head, and then the rest of the production folks there who supported them.
I love that. I love that. Now we have our first question of the evening. This is from Shailene Smith. She says, I'm curious to know, was there a character who was added in the later iterations of the script itself?
Remember anything, Michelle? I'm trying to think.
Well, it was actually later that we figured out that Goob was the bowler hat guy, but those characters were already there, but we connected them quite towards the end of my part on the show anyway. I don't know, the dinosaur, was he always in there from the beginning? I'm not sure.
No, he kind of evolved as well.
But I think all the family members were there from the beginning. All the main players were there from the beginning.
They changed quite a bit, though. I mean, some of them did. I know Franny. Late in the process, we had some big story revisions, and Franny's part completely changed. She had started off as completely in on Will's, all his schemes and everything. It was helping him behind the scenes and stuff. And she had some funny story about going to the convenience store and getting your Diet Coke, and the guy said, "You don't look like you need a Diet Coke." She would go on and on. It was awesome. It was a great scene, and I wish I still had it. I'd animate.
Yeah, I think that was even before I came on the show.
No, you wrote that stuff, Michelle. I think you wrote that.
I did.
Anyway,
get a banana, Diet Coke, or whatever. Yeah,
it was awesome. But she was hiding under a rug, trying to sneak around, and this rug moved across the floor, and she was trying to get Wilbur's attention to sneak. Anyway, she was kind of pretty wacky, but she needed to take that more maternal role, I think, ultimately, because that just was better for the story. I was going to say, as far as characters that came in late, Lewis's mom, I don't think we ever saw her in earlier versions, and even though we never saw her face, just the fact that she made a screen appearance was a pretty late development in the story.
Yeah, I'm sure you remember, Ellen, like a lot of the really early versions.
Yeah.
The end of the movie, you saw the mom in the memory scanner.
That's right. Yeah.
Because Lewis didn't actually go back in the time machine to the orphanage to see her in person.
Right, and then he turns off the machine, the memory scanner.
Before he sees her face, or he sees her face?
Before.
She's about to step into the light and see her face, and he turns it off.
Turns it off.
And says, "I don't need to know."
Or something, right?
Yeah. That same moment.
Yeah.
Well, and of course, Doris, the bowler hat, she came into being after we made all the changes for John Lasseter, so she's sort of an added character in a way.
Yeah.
Ready Angel says, I love the concept art from the film. It kind of shaped the art style that I have now. So
cool.
do you guys have a lot of people that come up to you and say, I really enjoyed this film and inspired me to be an artist myself, or to also pursue a career as a scientist?
Never a scientist. But definitely artists.
Yeah, I think a lot of people also have, what I've heard more recently is that a lot of younger people that right now are like, I really identified with that movie, of going through a really difficult time in my life, and it really helped me through that difficult time.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't cut you off there.
It's all good. No, it's all good. Go ahead, Randy.
I was going to say, I've had several people come to me or write to me and tell me that they love the movie because they were adopted, and what Lewis was going through and wanting to know who his birth parents were. My mother was adopted, right? And so I've had those conversations with her. And,
I don't know if I knew that.
It's kind of interesting, to know what it feels like to need to have that desire, I guess, to understand something about yourself by understanding who your birth parents were. Yeah. She really related to that, and I've had several people write to me who were adopted and saying that's the part of the story that really struck me.
That's great.
Darth Stan says, so Steve, Wikipedia says you chose to direct because the character of Lewis, the lead character, is adopted, and you were too. So you related to him. Is this true?
Yeah, it's true. It was kind of a crazy moment when Pam Coates, who was the head of development at Disney Animation at the time, she handed me the script that they had developed in the development department called A Day with Wilbur Robinson. Said, see if you'd be interested in developing this and possibly directing it. And when I read it, and it was about this kid who was trying to get adopted, my head kind of exploded, because I thought, this is the most perfect marriage for me of material and experience. And the studio had no idea that I had that connection. So it's kind of a no-brainer. I sort of had to do it. There's no question about it.
But also, I think, Steve, too, about your story of what you went through, right? When you were adopted, and your birth mother and the note she left and stuff like that, you know what I mean? And how it relates to how Lewis relates to that, about it's not about going backwards, it's always about keep moving forward, of like what the whole theme is. And I don't know if you feel like talking about that story, but it's just really, it's so heartfelt of that this movie is so true to you, of what you experienced and what you brought, what you brought to the screen.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it came from. I was adopted as an infant, and my parents were very open about it. So I always knew I was adopted. And as a little kid, there was something very magical about this notion of, hey, someday you could find out who your birth mother was. And I remember as a kid thinking, wow, I'm going to do that someday. I'm definitely going to do that. And they'd always say, when you're 18, you can be old enough, you can go get the records, find her records and find her name, find her. So 18, that was the target. And then one day I realized I'm like 25. I could have been doing this all these years. And I actually kind of forgot about it because I was adopted into a great family. I was creating my own family. I was on the path of my dream job of working in animation and working at Disney and building my life. So going backwards and finding out who she was, even though the wish fulfillment is there and the curiosity is always there, ultimately it wouldn't have changed anything. And in fact, there are stories of it actually going terribly. So there are some instances where people find their birth parents and it kind of goes the wrong way you want it to go. So the stories like that, talking to some of the other folks at the time who had experience with adoption, that kind of helped create that idea of hope comes from looking to the future and not dwelling on the past. So.
Yeah, isn't it one of the only Disney movies that talks about mainly adoption? The only one I can think of off the top of my head is like Follow Me Boys, where Dean Jones adopts Kurt Russell. Sorry, I'm going obscure here, but that's the only thing I can really think off the top of my head, that there's a clear adoption that happens during the film. But maybe
lots
this is
of
probably
orphans,
the only one.
but I guess not a lot of adoption.
Yeah.
Did Donald ever adopt the nephew?
The nephews? Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Never saw their parents. I wonder.
Crow-winged Angel says, this film means so much to me. Not only did it help me with my path as a writer, but it's what led me to decide that I'm going to adopt my kids.
Wow.
That's so sweet.
Awesome.
So great. Oh my gosh.
I got a question from Oscar. He wants to know, was Jim Carrey supposed to be the bowler hat guy? The live action version, maybe?
Could still happen. You never know.
You never know.
You're doing all the rest of them. Why not? Yeah.
I know.
It's funny. Oh, I'm sorry, if I could just
No,
step
go.
in, because when we do these movies, we always do temp dialogue, scratch dialogue, we call for everything.
Right,
So we we usually just grab people from the studio because they're free, and they record all the dialogue as the characters, and then after everything's set, then we bring in the real actor. But Steve was so amazing as the bowler hat guy that it was like, you're never going to find anybody that's going to be better. I mean, and I had worked on a number of shows already at Disney where you would have the scratch voice and you would go, okay, yeah. And then the real actor would come in and suddenly the character would come alive. But he was just perfect. It was such a pleasure to cut too. It was just, it was great. So
I think I might have some footage of that. Let's take a look.
I did Bowler Hat Guy. I think he was okay working with me. I know we did struggle a little bit from time to time.
It's so far removed from him that I can't even imagine him doing the voice.
Pass off invention as my own. Check. Oh, I love checklists.
He gets really into it, and his facial expressions become, evil and Bowler Hat Guy, and yeah, he had us frightened a couple times.
Me! I kind of channeled my anger and frustration that I feel as I sit in traffic every day commuting from Santa Clarita to Burbank, and I think a lot of the voice came from that.
Yeah.
See,
We can
Jim
relate.
Carrey
Yeah.
We did. I mean, I think the Jim Carrey thing came because we did start making a list of potential people, and he was on there. I don't think that ever got very far, though. So just to put a period on that question.
Ernesto says, hi, Tammy. Want to shout out to you and the cast and crew of Meet the Robinsons. Thank you for the 15th anniversary event and for making it happen. Easily one of my favorite Disney films growing up. Thank you.
Hey, Tammy.
Thanks for the $20. I'm going to take everybody out for coffee. Here's a really interesting question. Were there any other cool Lewis inventions that didn't make it into the movie?
Oh my gosh. I feel like there probably was.
I keep thinking that, but
There had to be a session where you just had this bird guy sit down and start to come up with stuff.
Well, we did that opening sequence so many times, so many different iterations. Like the beginning and the end of these movies are the ones that are the sequences that you rework the most, because once you finally figure out the middle, then you have to go back and make those parts right. So we redid that opening so many times, and there were so many montages of inventions. I can't remember any specific ones, but I know there were a lot that didn't end up in there.
Yeah.
Gosh, I wish I could remember. I need a memory scanner.
Alex says, raising my hand as one of those kids that went into the arts career because of this
Yay.
movie.
Cool.
Yay.
You go, Alex. You go.
Happy for that, Alex.
Talking about sequences, I mean, remember Meet Lewis? That sequence, was that sequence 9? That one.
You remember the number? That's awesome.
I remember the number. Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
in my head. Yeah.
Wow.
Boy, oh boy, that one in sequence 12, which was, didn't we do ballroom disco? What? Remember we
Yes.
couldn't figure out the song.
Yeah, sequence 9 was meeting the Robinsons.
Yeah,
And sequence 12 was the dinner sequence.
that's right.
Oh, geez,
And
yeah.
those
The
went through a
infamous dinner
bajillion.
sequence.
Yeah.
Over and over and over and over again. I remember one time we got together, you and I, Steve, with Ed and John. We were like, what do you want? It was like, we're trying to make this work.
Well, Creative Soul 27 says, I heard roughly 60% of the film was essentially redone at one point, and of course, John Lasseter made the changes. What would the film have looked like without those major changes?
I mean,
Doris was the big difference, right?
yeah.
There was that moment with the mom on the steps. Him going back and actually seeing the mom, I think, was a moment that came in at the end there.
And didn't Bowler Hat Guy wake himself up in the original version? Wasn't that when Lewis goes back with him in the time machine? And he yells, Goob, Goob, wake up, so that he's able to
Not become Bowler Hat Guy. Yeah.
Yeah, and not become Bowler Hat Guy. And that was a lovely scene. That was, I think, of all of the changes, that was the one I missed the most. That because it worked really well.
I think that ended up on the DVD. Was that a deleted scene? I think
It probably is. Yeah, I think so. Yeah. But yeah, that was a nice moment.
I have to say, I remember.
I thought the film it was a simpler through line, the original version, and it was kind of sweeter in a way. Because I think John's main objection, as I recall, was that we didn't have a villain, right?
Right.
and you had to kind of rework it to get it to be more of a villain, and then
I think because Bowler Hat Guy was too sort of dumb to be threatening, so they wanted,
right.
I have to say, I recall, and I mean, it'd probably be good to have you talk about, Steve, the challenges of working under new leadership. You know, that we were trying to understand what their vision was. You know, and but because we had lost Peter and Tom had moved on, and we got new leadership right at the beginning of this film, and that created a lot of challenges that I remember, because I remember coming out of the very, very first screening, the story reels, and thinking that was the best first screening I've ever seen Disney. I mean, it was so entertaining and so fun. It just flowed nicely, and the characters were really fun and appealing, and I just was in love with the film right from that first screening. So
Michael Eisner gave the film a go off that screening, as I recall, right, Dorothy?
Wow. Yeah, it was greenlit. From that, I was actually from that screening. I was actually on another film. We had this infamous thing called the Bake Off, and it was 3 films.
That's
and
right.
After that film, Steve and I went to lunch, and we're like, "I'd love to work with you on this film and produce this movie." So it ended up working out all really great. But yeah, they greenlit it. It was the strongest first screening, like Randy said, that we've ever had. And pretty much the movie stayed it pretty much intact of what, the whole the theme of the film. Stayed.
What year was that? Was that close to when Eisner left?
It was 2003 was the Bake Off screening. Eisner left in 2005, 6.
Yeah, and it was actually
more about Peter and Tom leaving.
Well, Peter and Tom had already left, so we were with David Staten.
David Staten had come, and he was trying to find his feet there too, and this was kind of
And you guys are talking about Peter Schneider and Tom
Schumacher.
Tom Schumacher.
Yeah. And to be fair too, at least in my experience, I had been there since 1995, so this was 2003 that we were screening, whatever that means in terms of how many years that was, I don't know, but it was several. And my experience in the story department was that you very rarely screened a complete version of the movie. You certainly didn't screen it in the beginning of the process. You tended to storyboard, write in storyboard Act 1, and you would screen Act 1 isolated, and everybody would sort of go, "Hey, it's working," and then you would do the next act, and then you would do fixes on Act 1 and screen 1 and 2, and then put something into production, and then finally screen the whole thing. And it was done in kind of pieces. So one of the main things at the beginning of Robinson's was the development department said, "We want you to build a story department and an editorial department, board and cut the whole thing, the whole movie. Don't do anything else. You're not going to do any production design, no animation, no nothing. And then we're going to decide whether we want to make it or not." So that was also kind of unheard of at the time. And what was great is that I felt like it was great because we were able to make a complete thought, as opposed to, proving half your movie and then kind of trying to tell people, "Trust us, the rest of it's going to be great." It's kind of what it was before that. It was wonderful just to be able to go, "There it is, warts and all. If you want to make it, we'll work on making it better. If you don't, we got to tell our story." It was kind of nice,
Yeah, because you guys were all kind of sequestered away, right? You were able to go in a room and just go in like 9 months, right? Was it like 6 to 9 months of going away and just hammering it out and doing what you needed? And I remember actually, so as you guys were, had the first screening, we're working on this film. And then as we were finishing, it was actually on our preview day. So we have previews of our films. And that's the day that Disney had acquired Pixar. And we now all of a sudden had new bosses. And our bosses that normally would go to these previews were very busy. So they weren't, I think maybe some of them might have shown up, but there was a lot of other stuff. But it was a really great preview. It was fantastic. We got really great notes coming out of that preview. And then there was a moment when we actually couldn't get any notes from John or Ed because it was through through the deal, we had to wait like 45 days. So
Oh wow.
we were moving along, and then we went through and did some redos, but we kept our same schedule. We never pushed the schedule. We just hunkered down and finished the film.
Well, Lorenzo says, Christina and Lorenzo here, we met and got married because of Meet the Robinsons. So happy and blessed, and have 4 and 8-year-olds now. May the force be with you all. Keep moving forward.
Yay, Christina and Lorenzo.
That's so sweet. So somebody says, will there potentially be a sequel for Meet the Robinsons? I always thought it would be great to have a TV series.
Yeah.
That would have been so much more fun. Like, keep that positive energy going, and you know what I mean? Because there's so many family members like that. That to me is like, oh, the perfect way to keep the stories going with the family.
Yeah, and we definitely, you know, I think it happens with most story development in general, but certainly at Disney, as you're creating the characters together, you start talking about different story aspects that you can't fit in the movie, or like backstories, or you know, you live with your characters so much. So we definitely had a lot of stuff we talked about that didn't make it in. So who knows? I mean, I think it's possible.
Thanks, Ready Angel, for that question. Stephen Murphy says, any fun memories about working with Adam West? Batman.
Yeah, I mean, the guy's hilarious. I mean, he was such a funny performer, but also just such a, I don't mean this in a bad way, but like such a funny person. He just has such a lightness about him and such a quirkiness about him. He was such a warm man.
All of the voice talent, they were just delightful. They really were. They were just so easy to work with, and so wanting to be there and so happy to be there. You know, Angela Bassett, and it's just Tom Selleck, just fabulous. Laurie Metcalf.
How did that work, getting Tom Selleck? I mean, did you come up with the line before you came up with the idea of casting him, or you always thought I could Selleck in?
Yeah, Nathan Greno was a story artist on the film at the time, and he was storyboarding the sequence 9 that we meet the Robinsons, and we came up with a little pop quiz idea to kind of like, let's remind the audience who all these people, these crazy wackos are that we just met, and he came up with that idea and threw in the Tom Selleck thing. We thought it was hilarious, and then eventually he did it.
And a lot of the voice actors were crew members and story artists, and so that was.
Yeah.
I remember because we recorded everyone and feature animation in our own recording room down there, and I remember the first time Angela Bassett came in, and I guess I should back up and say that people kind of dressed at feature animation, the guys would be wearing t-shirts and jeans and sneakers, and the girls would be wearing jeans and sneakers and maybe a blouse or something, but you know, something upscale a little bit from a t-shirt. But anyway, so she came in and she was dressed to the nines. She had this gorgeous white outfit. I mean, she was just absolutely stunning. Heels, the whole thing. Did a beautiful job, recorded everything, and then kind of looked at all of us and everything, I think. And the next time she came in to record, she was in jeans and a hoodie, and she had a little baseball cap, and she was still stunningly beautiful. But, you know, she kind of figured out, I guess I don't really need to go all out here. It was very funny. I never forgot that. Yeah.
That's great.
Darth Stan says, is Aunt Billie really from Cleveland? And if you say yes, I'm going to cry in the corner.
I hope it's a good cry. Yeah, sure. Why not?
We have Mothman Pinball says, looking back, this is probably the movie that got me into writing. I appreciate everyone involved so much for bringing it to life, and thank you for this reunion.
That's so
Writing's
awesome.
hard. Tell me a little bit more about that, Michelle. Like, as a writer, are you working off of the storyboards, or are you working on the story first and then kind of collaborating with the animators?
It was kind of a little bit of everything. There were times when I would go off and write scenes, and then the story artist would take those scenes and turn them into storyboards and add their magic to it and change pieces. And then there were times we would all look at the boards together and pitch changes, and they would create boards on their own without me, and then I would maybe put some input on the board. So it was really a great team. It was just we were so in sync, and there were no egos involved, which is, I think, sometimes a rare thing in this business. And we just clicked, and we had fun, and I think that's why, and I think it showed in the movie, you know.
Yeah, Michelle, you're such a great collaborator. And
Thank you.
I know. I think it was the first animation thing you've done. I think you had talked with Disney about some stuff prior, right? But never actually really.
I had worked on different shows, but this was the first. I did a little bit on Chicken Little, actually.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Yeah. And I worked on some shows for Disney that didn't get made, but this is the first big one that got made. So yeah.
Yeah. Because you fit into the collaborative process so well. It was like you were made for it.
Oh, thank you.
So much
thank
fun.
You. That was the best.
I never laughed so much in that story room. I laughed so much. I had so much fun.
Mag Uma says, I watched this movie not long ago and absolutely loved it. Happy to see it's still getting attention. So we got a newbie who watched it. Yay! I love introducing it to people because I feel like, again, so growing up with the film, I remember seeing it in IMAX, and that was the big deal, that it was in IMAX 3D. Yes. So I remember going to see it, and I really loved it because I was a kid at the time. And I feel like the early 2000s, I tell Steve this all the time, the early 2000s, like us kids, are forgotten because we got Atlantis and Treasure Planet and Emperor's New Groove and Meet the Robinsons and Chicken Little. And I feel like sometimes we're kind of glossed over. So it's really cool to see. We have over 50 people watching right now, which is awesome. Wow. And commenting along. And we all grew up with it. So I'm glad to know I'm not alone in this.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So somebody says, can you talk about the other family members that were left out of the movie, but they were in the book? So, like, I guess another question for that would be, like, how did you pick certain people from the book to be in the movie? Is it like something?
Trying to rewind the memory tapes.
And that was from Orlick, by the way. Thank you for your question.
Yeah, thank you, Orlick. I think we talked about it in the room. I think a lot of it was Nathan kind of going off on his own because there was a few that he just created as like one-off jokes that weren't in the book, just because. But we thought it would be a funny image or something like that. There was also, from what I recall, there was a lot of family members in the book, which just like from a production standpoint, we couldn't have like.
You already had a lot.
20 Robinsons in there. Yeah. We had to kind of scale back.
You just pick the craziest ones to use.
Yeah.
And then expand with the TV series. Hey, there Disney, you watching?
There you go.
Come on, we need that TV series. Well, we're gonna unfortunately we're gonna say goodbye to Ellen and Dorothy and Michelle and Randy. Steve's gonna stay on, but thank you guys so much for joining
for having me.
Our virtual reunion.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Great to see you all.
Nice to see you.
Bye. Thank you,
Bye.
Tammy.
A little
Thank
bit,
you, Tammy.
guys. Thank you so much. They're all so cute and adorable. Oh, it's so good to see everybody. So, Steve, you do have something special to show us, and we're going to be giving it away this evening. So, do you want to kind of hand that out? And
Yes. So this is an Art of Meet the Robinsons book. Inside, it's.
I'm trying to get you. Where are you? There you are. Sorry, I'm trying to move you on the screen. There you go.
Art of Meet the Robinsons book, complete with this special cover that's different from the cover that was available in stores back in the day when the book came out. This is a cover that was exclusive to cast and crew. Only the cast and crew got this cover until today. And now if you have the chance to win a copy of this book with this special cover through Tammy's show.
And he's going to sign it for you.
Yes.
So how we're going to do this giveaway is I'm going to have the link right here, the Rafflecopter link. I'm going to leave it up on the screen. I'm also going to copy and paste it in the chat so all of you will be able to go ahead and enter to win. It's one entry per person, and it's only for those who are in the United States. So go ahead. I just posted the link there. It will be up here for part of the evening. I'll do 2 more reminders so nobody will miss it. But if you'd like like to go ahead and click that link and just enter the competition. It was something so cool. I was so glad you offered it, Steve. So thank you.
Of course. My pleasure.
Okay, so let's welcome our next coming guest, because it looks like almost everybody is in the group page here, I think. Okay, I think we're almost all here. So let me just make sure I'm keeping account for it. I don't know if I see Nick. I don't know if he's here yet, but let's just bring on who we have. So first, so we have Kellie. Kellie is the voice of Aunt Billie and the story production department manager. Hi.
Hello.
Hi,
Nice
Kellie.
to see you both. Hi.
I know, it's so good to see you. Hello. And then we're bringing on the rest of the crew here. Hold
Oh,
on.
yeah.
Bring
Oh,
everybody.
yeah.
Hello.
Hey, you guys. Hold on it so I can have
Hey,
your
it's
name.
Robh.
Hey, Steve. Hey, everyone.
Hi.
Oh, good to see all of you.
Yes.
You
I'm
too.
just
Y'all
fixing your
too.
name, Rob, so we could see your name.
ROBH.
There you go. Yeah, it was like it wasn't showing up. I was like, what
That's
happened?
weird.
There should be
Welcome,
an H
you
there.
guys.
What time
Hi, everybody.
So good to see
Hi.
everybody.
I'm
Good to
so
see
glad
you.
you're here. I think Ethan is joining us a little later, maybe. Oh, did I spell it?
Oh.
Sorry, I thought that's how you spelled it. Sorry about that.
No worries.
I bet it happens a lot.
Yeah, my entire life.
So it's so good to see all of you. Can you tell me a little bit each? I'll give you guys each an opportunity to go on the floor, because I'm going to look for a second at the contest entries while we're talking. But why don't you guys talk about how you got involved with the project to begin with? So Kellie, why don't you start us off?
Okay. Funnest time of my life, by the way. Hello. I saw Michelle Spitz and Ellen. Oh, okay.
Yes.
Anyway, so the Florida studio actually shut down, sad, because I loved it so much. And I interviewed in California with the lovely Steve Anderson, and they hired me, can you believe that, to be the production supervisor for Story. And that was my way in. Thank God. It was the most fun. Hi, Robh Ruppel.
Hi, Kellie.
Joe and Aurian, I see them all the time. Steve, I had dinner with. Okay, you go, Aurian. Tell them all about how you got invested in this.
It's so good to see you, Kellie. It's been so long. It's awesome. I love it so much. It brings back so many fond memories. This whole process of making this film was so much fun. It was a dream project for me. My dream was really to get to work in Story at Disney Feature, and I was fortunate enough to have Steve and Don Hall as mentors as I was learning and how to do all of this. And they helped me before I was at Disney. They helped me just learn and get better and all of that stuff. And when this came along, they pulled me in, and I'm so grateful for it. One of the most amazing experiences I've ever had. So yeah, Steve, always thank you. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's where Joe and I got to meet for the first time, which is pretty amazing. Joe, you want to talk about yours? You're on mute. Heads up.
Yeah, unmute yourself.
Speak up, Joe.
So sorry. It's not my doing. It's this thing. Just in case I say something stupid, it's not me. It's
You were being mind controlled?
yeah.
Oh, no.
I'm sorry.
That's
But
awful,
hey,
Joe.
hey, it's so good to see you guys and to be part of this. It really working on this movie is like the highlight of my career there at Disney. Just the experience and the generosity of everyone. It was my first time. I came off of a story training program, storyboard training program. I did that for a year, and I was Don Hall was my mentor. But before that, I was a 2D animator, and I was trying to transition to CG, but I struggled with it and kind of stumbled upon storyboarding. Like my friend Jeff Ranjo, who is Jeff the art director? Jeff Ranjo, was he what was he? But yeah, he was
A nuisance.
Jeff Fangio was storyboarding then. And then, he told me about the story training program that they were opening up. And, I fortunately got in, and Don Hall was my mentor. I did that for a year. And I remember, not being sure about if I wanted to do story because I was so comfortable just doing animation. In animation, you can just grab your sequence and go back to your room and work on it, right? But here you have to stand up and pitch your stuff to like people. What? That's insane. I remember my first pitch to my mentor. I was like, after I pitched, I was like, I don't think I can do this. I'm gonna quit. And he was like, Don Hall, I don't know if you've seen, he's a big guy. And he told me, no, I'm not letting you. So there you go. Thank you, Don Hall. So I did that for a year, the training. And then, they welcomed me and Meet the Robinsons. And it was like I've never felt like this guy treated me as an equal, right from the start. And for someone who's starting at a place where I wasn't sure what I was doing, and there were so many uncertainty and fears. This guys, the group that we have in story made me feel like I belong to a family, really. So it's great. It's like I said, it's the highlight of my whole time there at Disney, and if I can work with one guy again, it would be Steve Anderson, Thank you.
That's so sweet.
Love you, Joe.
The chat is wild for you, Joe. We got a oh my gosh from Carol, an LOL, a ha ha, and a that's cute. Everybody loves your little hat.
I get that a lot. That's cute. I get that a lot. So just
even when he's not wearing a hat, especially.
Well, that makes me want to bring up this picture right now. So McDonald's Happy Meal. Here are all the toys. So everybody in the chat, comment if you remember getting a toy. I think I got the hat one actually.
No, you didn't. You never got this toy, Tammy. If you did, you were dreaming.
Are you sure?
I'm dead positive. Yes. This was the line of Happy Meal toys. This is never before seen. These were supposed to be put in existence. We had prototypes. My son used to play with them when he would come visit me. And they got killed, I think, around 2006 when Disney stopped doing promotions with McDonald's. And these never saw the light of day.
I could have
sworn
there was a set of prototypes of the hat at the Disney store.
Oh, well, the Disney store had toys.
Maybe that's what I'm thinking when I'm looking at it. I didn't know for sure, but
yes. So, but these were the never released Happy Meal toys. They were super cool. All the parts came. You could take all the parts together and you could rebuild. Like you could make new toys out of them. Everyone had like 3 or 4 parts that came apart, and you could combine them with the other parts.
I wonder if we can figure out whose desk that is. I'm trying to read the poster.
So do you have this, Steve?
I don't have them anymore. They took them when they killed them. But.
If we can do an auction right now, like for
I wish I did.
So cute.
Yeah, those are really cool. I could have sworn there was a Doors, at least the hat, and in a Disney store, but maybe my memory is not serving.
No, you're right. You're right. There was.
It looked like that. I could have sworn there was one, and it looked like that. So, But you guys had fun parties. Here's a flyer for one of the parties. Do you guys remember this party?
This was so in the last group. Now everybody knows where. No, I'm the last group we talked about the bake screening, right? We talked about that first screening that we had, the bake-off screening that got us the green light, and that was our after party. The day after, I think we screened on a Friday, and I think that was our that was Saturday. Wasn't that weekend right after that? And that's from Don Hall. Don Hall did that drawing. Don Hall had a story of Meet the Robinsons, and that was our big bash. Rob Ruppel, you should tell us a little bit more about yourself, though, too, and your involvement in the movie.
I was the art director, and Steve and I both worked in the Burbank studio, but we were down in Florida on Brother Bear. He came back when that, yay, I know. Somebody posted pictures of the Florida building empty the other day on Facebook. It was like,
oh, I love that building.
I know, it's so nice. But we were down there, but we moved back to Los Angeles because that's where we were. And Pam Coates approached me and she was like, do you like William Joyce? I love this stuff. Well, here, look at this. You go talk to Steve. And I think you had almost got the entire thing up on Reels. And when we saw it, there was just no question what show should be greenlit. It was just like, that one was so complete, so tight. It's just like, just put that into layout now. You don't need to do anything else. Literally, that is the movie. It was so complete at that stage.
And really early, Rob, I remember you had put together this really great style guide of like, this is sort of analyzing William Joyce's artwork and kind of his shape language and color and lighting and texture, all that kind of stuff, and talked about how we could translate that into CG. And I mean, that was like probably the first thing you ever did for the movie. I don't even know if you were on the movie at that point. You might not have even been, but that was like a really cool kind of. It was great to hear your passion, and it really was like, well, you got to come on and make this movie.
He references so many like 1930s streamlined modern stuff in William Joyce's in his artwork. It's like no one's done that world yet. It's so ripe for for a look, for a design.
Yeah.
Alex G says there was a remote control Doris. I remember having one. Okay, I was like, am I going insane here?
She's right there.
Okay, yeah, so that's the one. Okay, then that's probably the one that I'm remembering.
I could never be a weather. I'm never be a weather reporter. Anyway,
nope.
Paramore X Light says, I wish there was more merch. I have a plushie of Carl and Tiny. And Carol says the urge to buy a bowler hat grows stronger by the second. I should have just bought one to wear for the whole entire interview.
This one's for sale, I'm just saying.
Joe's always been an influencer and continues to this day.
And the thing I messaged Steve the most is Sorbet is saying, I went to Disneyland Villains Night pre-COVID and they had the bowler hat guy there. And I was like, that's what I usually send to him. I'm like, oh my gosh, he's making an appearance at Disney or Disneyland. So yeah, that is a cool highlight. It's cool to see all the characters appear. Now, we do have some other photos that Steve can share of the cast. So this one is for Carl, for Harlan Williams. And who is the gentleman next to him?
And that's Mike Belzer. He was the animation supervisor for the whole show, and then also the character soup for Carl, the robot.
That's
character
awesome.
Animation soup.
And then, of course, Tom
Selleck.
Selleck.
with Alex Mark, who is the supervisor for Cornelius.
There he is. And I love that. I love that poster in the background too. That's really
Another
cool.
one of Rob's really cool inspiration pieces.
And here you are, you, Steve, with Danny Elfman at the Barbra
Yep.
Streisand scoring stage. That's really cool. Oh my gosh.
At the Sony lot, yes.
Oh.
It's not Barbra Streisand. I guess that's Judy Garland, right? Oh, well, anyways. Who's counting?
But working with Danny, because a lot of people have been mentioning the music, that they really have an affinity for the music in the score. And especially, like, my favorite is that track where Lewis is now going to the future. And it's just like so hopeful and exciting. And you're like, oh my gosh, like that's what I was thinking when I was watching that Tomorrowland movie with whatever his name was. I was like, it was not like exciting with the music and oh my gosh, we're gonna go discover something like that. This is what that film really captured perfectly. So working with Danny, like did you let him see some of the scenes so you could get a sense of what the film is, or did you have to tell him like way ahead of time before he could see anything?
No, he came into the building and we did sort of a song and dance dog and pony for him. Showed him some clips, not the whole thing, but we just kind of showed him some bits and pieces, talked through music ideas, and then he agreed to do it. That was kind of like our appeal to him to come work on the film. He agreed to do it, and then then he saw the whole thing, and it was a dream come true to me. I've only gotten starstruck a few times working in the industry, and meeting Danny for the first time was like, that was kind of a big deal for me. His music meant so much to me growing up and just in my life. It was really an honor to get to work with him. And he was just delightful.
Didn't you get to go out to his house at some point?
Yeah, he played all of his demos for us at his house, at his home studio. So I think it was like maybe twice or once every 2 weeks, Dorothy and I and our music executives would go sit in Danny's studio and listen to his synthesizer demos. It was pretty like, what's happening? It's pretty weird.
Well, I have a clip, so let's play this clip of you with Danny.
Meet the Robinsons went in two directions, both very crazy, where I got to actually be very Carl Stalling-esque. It had more of a story and the type of character thing that music can play a bigger part in than many animated films.
Oh, so cool. It's gonna be stuck in my head now. Thanks. It's really cool to see you guys together in the studio like that. Those are I would love to be in a studio just to listen to and watch Danny work, because his music is so iconic in all the movies he's done. So yeah.
I felt like I was in the way. I just was like, I'm just going to sit in the corner and not do anything because I'm so intimidated, but excited to be here.
Graf, hi, thank you so much for donating. She says, love this movie. Do you have any advice, suggestions for a fan-made musical adaptation? I don't know if we're allowed to say anything like that. I don't know if it's like because it's a fan-made thing, but do you guys have anything you want to say? I think that's cool that you're doing that.
I follow LOL on Instagram and Twitter, and I'm blown away by how they've taken this one movie and made an entire well, I don't want to say career, but they do so much artwork based on the movie that they've given it an entire new life. It was so nice to see them on the chat, because it's like, right, LOL. Yeah, I love what they do.
They're amazing, and it's amazing too. I actually had a chance to meet with them a little bit where we're working, and they're so inspiring. Their work is just beautiful, and then they came and they were talking to a bunch of students that we were working with, and then they started sharing some of their fan art, and I think my face turned so red. I didn't even realize that they were following some of that stuff. It was amazing. But their work is phenomenal, and I think that's the cool part too, is seeing just the fans and the responses that this movie has. It's so amazing. And Steve, it ties back to you so much in the beginning. When you looked at this script, you looked at this idea and how you brought so much to it. And I think it helped all of us just rally around and want to make this for the fun of making animated stuff, but also because of you and wanting to support you in that. And it's so cool to see it inspiring so many people. It gets me every time. Yeah, it's awesome.
I mean, I feel like, what they say about directing is 90% casting, and they usually use that in live action. Talk about directing actors. It's 90% casting. You have to cast the right person, and then you as a director don't really have to do much of anything. I think it goes without saying that it's so similar, for me at least, on this project. It was all about you folks and the people that were on the movie making it, and because you rallied around it, I felt that every day, and feeling that support and that, like, we're with you, we're going to battle with you, we're here and we're going to make this movie, and we're going to make it great. I felt that every day, and I'm eternally grateful to all of you for that.
Oh, you made it such a lovely, warm experience. I mean, you're smart and kind and funny and generous. It wasn't even like going to work. I mean, probably the most fun I've ever had in animation, and I am long in the tooth. Seriously, these people, just like a big fat warm hug. Not kidding.
Hey, Michelle wrote, she says, remember the bowler hat guy was originally named Mortimer Clinch, but we changed that when we decided to make him the grown-up Goob.
Yes, Mortimer Clinch was the name of, before he was Goob. That was his name in the script, the original script. In fact, each of the characters in production had like a 4-letter code. Like Wilbur was WILB, just to identify him in all the production, whatever process. And Bowler Hat Guys was still to the very end of the movie MORT, because he started off as Mortimer Clinch and then became Bowler Hat Guy Mikey Goobian, but he was always known as Mort.
And I just want to remind everybody, if you're in the chat, please feel free to ask questions. People are commenting along. It really is so good, from Carol.
Well, and Kellie made a good point about, the director. I always feel the director is also a good shield, in that he kind of shields everybody too from, all the stuff, so that they can just focus on what they're doing. So Steve was excellent at that.
Oh, thanks, Rob.
For sure. I know Ethan's not here, but I had a clip of him working with you, Steve, on doing some of the voices. So, and I'm talking about Ethan Sandler, who is the voice of Doris, Fritz, Petunia, and the CEO in the film. So here's a little clip of him working behind the scenes with Steve.
Sandler doing practically every other voice in the movie.
I'm playing Dimitri and Spike. Hey, ring my doorbell. No. Ring my doorbell. And Laszlo and Fritz and Petunia and the CEO.
You have 2 minutes. Please begin.
He's even Doris. He's all the beeps and buzzes of Doris.
What a weirdo. Aurian, you storyboarded the Inventco sequence, right?
It was Jeff Ranjo and myself. Jeff Ranjo actually took a pass in the beginning, and then I got to try and work with, trying to improve that. It was already so amazing.
Good luck, right?
I know. But it was great. I mean, we had a few guest artists who would come in, like Jeff Ranjo or Mark Walton, and do a sequence, and it was always really fun to see what they brought to it as well. And then our story crew. It was such a small crew. It was a really tight-knit crew. I think we had 3 story artists for the entire way through, which is unheard of these days.
Well, that's the consistency too. It's it's small but concise, and
and that sequence, Aurian, I whenever I watch it, I see your boards. And it's like your drawings are what I see. I mean the CG is great, but it's your poses, your acting. I just remember everything. Like all your drawings. Yeah.
How about Mr. Steak? You're my only friend. That's my favorite. Come on.
That was Aurian too.
That's awesome.
That drawing was so rough and so
sweet.
I don't know, but yet
so sweet.
When we first pitched that, even the first pitch, it was immediately the whole room just lit up and was just on the floor rolling. It was pretty amazing. So yeah, that was pretty fun. That was so much fun. But I think that's the other part too, is we had so many different people collaborating on this, and each person was inspiring the other person. Nathan would do a sequence and it's like, oh my goodness, that's so cool. How do we do another sequence that's even going to keep up with that? And then Steve would do a sequence and it's so amazing. And Don, I mean, every single bit, Rob, what you were doing, every single piece that people were doing was inspiring something else and getting everyone to raise their game. It was so much fun.
Are they ever going to release the first storyboard cut? Because I know you had recorded a segment possibly for the DVD, which I don't think made it in there, but that first bake-off pitch, that I would love for someday for people to see that and see how tight it was.
Yeah, that's right. I think we did. Oh, there's a puppy back there. Kellie.
On stage.
Hi.
Oh my God.
He is damn cute, right?
Yeah, I think we did talk about that. I don't think the home video folks are very excited about having like a whole other version of the movie on the thing.
That would have
But we did. I think we supplied it to them though to say, hey, if you want, because it's a it was a distinguishing characteristic of this movie that we got to do that, because like we said in the last group, that was not always the practice in story development at Disney, was to screen the entire movie at the very beginning. So yeah, I don't know. It'd be weird to see it again. It's been so long since.
Well,
saw that
Justin
version.
Smith wants to put you on the spot. He says, "Can the bowler hat guy make an appearance this evening?"
Yeah. Yep.
He's like, I was so close. I'm halfway through.
I don't remember how to do it anymore. I don't have the anger I used to have. No. Actually, I have more.
We need to direct Steve, Kellie.
Yeah.
Hey, why don't you bring him in with your dinosaur line?
Oh my God.
Come on.
You're not going to recognize it. Actually, if you really listen to it carefully, you'll hear my Filipino accent. You know.
Yeah. He was the voice of Tiny the T-Rex.
Okay, yeah, let's reenact it. Go ahead, Steve.
Well, I'll do this line here. It doesn't go into Tiny. Sorry, Joe. It won't feed you, Joe. But I'll just say,
do your thing, Steve.
I'll say, let it fester and boil inside of you.
Ooh.
That's awesome.
Yay.
Don't let it go.
Yeah, who knew that would be like a meme, like the anti-Frozen thing. You guys have seen that before, right?
No.
Yeah, because Frozen's all let it go, and now and people have used our scene as like, this is the anti-Frozen. Don't let it go.
That's perfect.
Joe, were you surprised that like a lot of the commercials would use the line where you're like, I have a big head and little arms? Like, were you surprised that they were using that constantly?
Yeah, it's just my one line on the, in the movie, and it's I'm very thankful for Steve for giving me a line in the movie, because I'm still getting like a check here and there,
And Joe storyboarded like 10,000 versions of that sequence.
Yeah.
Like dinosaur.
Oh my
chase.
God. And see, I've learned so much from that one sequence, because I think I reboarded it like 8 times. No, seriously. But and that's why when I talk about like, the generosity and, it being a family, it's like, even though I kept redoing it, I didn't, every time I have to reboard it, it's not like I feel down that I can't do this. It's more of like, thank you for making me see this through, and not giving up on me, and it provided I think it really gave me a good foundation on storyboarding, basically, and just not and the importance of what we do. And these drawings that we do are like, you can just throw it away easily, to not fall in love with the storyboards, because it changes constantly. So and I always share that story with younger newer story artists that that I was fortunate to have that experience.
So speaking of generosity, I have a story.
Go ahead, Kellie.
I'm in production management, taking all the notes badly. And Steve Anderson said, come in and do some scratch for Aunt Billie. And I'm like, what? And hello, made it in the final movie, beat out a desperate housewife because of him. Come on. It's a great story.
Congratulations. I'm so glad you do a brilliant job. Like, this is probably one of the few Disney films that has a lot of the crew being a part of the cast.
Dara even did a couple of voices. One of our, I forget her title at the time, but she had done the receptionist and someone else, I thought.
I think the Mrs. Harrington at the beginning with the EpiPen.
Right.
Is her, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Orion, I cut you off. You go. You were going to say something.
Oh no, I was just going to geek out again. I was just going to say, Steve, you and Don just created such an amazing safe space in that story room for us to be able to kind of try things, and I think we tried and failed more often than not. And I think, but that process of having that be a safe space for us to just feel comfortable with playing around with ideas and exploring these characters, exploring the dynamics. It was magical in that space. And
that's awesome.
I learned so much too, just hearing all the different feedback. It was so cool.
I'm very glad. Oh, go ahead. Who was
No, go ahead. Go ahead. I don't want to cut
just
you
really
off.
quick. I'll just say it was interesting because I felt like I learned a lot more about being a story artist when I became a director, because as a story artist, I always felt like my job was to get it right. And when I came in the room and I pitched my sequence and I got all these notes, I thought I got it wrong, and so I got to go back and do it again because I screwed it up. And then as a director, I would start thinking about, well, what do I need from my story artists? And I realized I don't care if they get it right because I don't even know what is right. All I need is to create we need to create a space for people to feel safe to bring a mountain of material into the room that we can throw on the table and sift through and build something with. That's what I need. It's like whether it's right or wrong or left or right or up or down doesn't really matter. It's just, do we have raw material that we can work with? So I never really thought of it that way, but becoming a director kind of changed my way of thinking about it.
It was awesome, and there's one great character that came out of it from Nathan, where he drew me as Lewis with the box that he turns around, and it's checked off for how many failed pitches I had gone through.
Oh, I don't think I ever saw that.
It was a good one. It was a good one. Nathan Grunow had some amazing caricatures. I'm just saying. So it was good.
Man, yeah, that we should. Yeah, where are those trophies? Right?
I have them all.
You have them all. Oh my God!
I have all of them. Yes.
Ooh, Kellie, she's got them all.
We'll have a big show one day, just the G-rated ones. Yep.
There's only like 2 of those, so
it's a short show.
Yeah.
Steve, everybody loved you bringing back the bowler hat guy. This is my favorite comment by Tonic. He says, "We won today." We did.
Oh, yeah. Good.
Oh, Michaela Jill Murphy's in the chat. She's coming up
Oh,
next.
yeah.
Nice to see your faces. Hey.
Michaela is young Franny, little young Franny.
Wow.
Yeah.
Let's go through some more photos. So we have Nicole Sullivan, who's adult Franny.
With Randy Haycock, supervising animator.
We just saw him, yes. And we went back to the pictures of the boys. There's Laurie Metcalf. And she did. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. I cut you off.
No, because I actually don't know who it is.
So that's Scott Robideau. He was the supervising animator for Crunklehorn.
Okay, cool.
Oh, and the caffeine patch. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Angela Bassett with Ruben.
With Ruben, yep.
She looks fantastic. She's so fabulous. I love her as Mildred. She's Mildred in the film. And then you were going to tell me a little bit more about this picture, because this is.
Oh, yeah. That would be, if we have a moment, that'd be a good segue for Robh, because so this was the shot finaling crew. So these are the lighting and compositors at the end of the production taking their group photo. And I don't know, Robh, if you want to talk about some of the challenges of the film. Just, it was new for Disney because we'd never done humans or naturalistic lighting.
Only the second CG film, so it was trying to hold on to that tradition of what made Disney, but also like, well, how can we start incorporating some of the things that really good DPs do? So I would analyze like what makes Caleb Deschanel so good, and then how can we bring that kind of staging into a Disney film? So you're not like the ideas aren't fighting; they're just working together. And it turns out like Disney staging has always been really, really strong, and really good DPs have very simple graphic staging. So it was like, oh, okay, well, they've already got it figured out. So we just have to, adjust that quality of light and not lose that initial simplicity of design.
Yeah, that's great.
I rewatched it recently. My only critique of and having some 15 years away, it's like, I wish we didn't move the camera so much. That's all.
Oh,
because of how fast like some of the scenes were running. Is that what you're?
I think we could have done it with just like more locked off cameras and let the action happen within the frame. But that's just that's just looking back on it fresh and going.
Well, watching it again is really cool to see like the family. The dinner sequence, I know that was like a crazy challenge because you have all these characters and all of these material, these lines going off and everything like that. And I forgot how fast it is because I love movies that just jump into it. They don't need to go on and explain somebody's backstory. They just get into it and you're like, okay, I'm here. I'm part of the family. I'm ready to go. And it just doesn't take forever. Then the story can just go. And that's what's so cool about this film. It just goes. And, there's moments where obviously it stops, but you're not like, oh, when's the next, you're not looking at your watch is what I'd like to say. So that's what I loved about that scene, because watching it again, I was like, oh, here we go. This is exciting.
You have a lot to pack into that 80 minutes or whatever it was.
You have a time frame.
Yeah.
There's no wasted space.
No.
There was some hilarious stuff too on the radio as little Goob grows up into the bowler hat guy that we had to cut out too. That he's listening as the years pass.
Yeah. Always have to like trim out for time.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Well, guys, it was so great to see you, Kellie, and it was great to see all of you here today. And I appreciate you joining in and having fun with us. Can you guys, at least before you leave, can you give me your favorite character in the film?
Well, Aunt Billie, and Gaston, my toy train is ready for you. Choo-choo on this big girl. Pass the gravy, Grandma. With failure, we learn. With success, not so much. Okay.
Wow.
That's it.
You just made Darth Sand happy because that's the line that they wanted to hear.
Right on.
Classic.
It was great to see you guys. Thank you for being a part of the interview, of our reunion. It was so lovely to see you. And thank you for making the film.
It was so great to see everybody
Thank
too.
you all.
How are you not aging? Because clearly I am and no one else is. So I don't know.
Not true, Rob.
No,
Not true at all, Rob.
You all look the same.
From here up, but from here down.
Yeah. It's a filter. It's all filters, Rob. That's it.
Thank God it's not. This is not in person, so.
We'll see you guys in a little
Thanks.
bit.
Good to see you all.
Yeah.
Love to see you guys. See you later. Oh, it's good to see everybody. Okay, so let's reiterate the contest prize we have tonight.
Okay.
So hold on, I'm going to do a solo layout so we can just see you and the book.
Okay, so here we have an art of Meet the Robinsons book. And what makes this one special is it has a cover that is different from the one that was released in bookstores back in the day, back in 2007. This was a cover that we made exclusively for the cast and crew on the film. But you have a chance to win one of these copies of this book with this cover that I'll sign, and hooray. That's what we have for you.
And I put the link obviously is right here up on the screen, but I did put it in the chat on the side. So you'll have until probably, I'll pick somebody around 9:45 before we kind of end at 10 o'clock. So I might be popping in and out. No fear. I'm still here. I'm just trying to figure out who's going to be the winner. So I'll close everything off at 9:40. So you have about 20 minutes to enter to win this cool prize, and it's signed by Steve, so it's even more special. So yay. Okay, so let me go ahead, and we have some more fun guests who are joining us tonight. So now we talked to the crew. We got to bring some more of the cast on as well too. So I think we have everybody here. So let's start out with Jordan Fry, who was the voice of Lewis. Hey, Jordan.
Hey, Jordan.
Hey, how's it going?
Good to see you, man.
Good to see you. Been a while.
Been a long time.
I didn't have the beard last time you saw me.
That's true. You were lacking facial hair.
Fantastic.
I was.
I had a little more
Stop.
hair.
You're gonna make me blush.
And the voice of Goob, Matt. Hey, Matt.
Matthew.
You're muted, my dear. Yes,
have
unmute
that.
yourself so we can hear your lovely voice.
Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Sweet. Wow. Hey, guys.
Great to see you.
Yeah. Long time no see.
Yep.
I
15
also have
years.
some facial hair.
Yep.
What's that all about?
I know, right?
And Michaela, the voice of young Franny.
Hi!
Hi,
Oh my
Michaela.
gosh! Hi! It's so good to see you guys. I don't have facial hair.
I'm noticing a
That's okay.
significant lack of
Surprise!
facial
I
You're the
shaved
opposite.
today.
You
Yeah.
had facial hair back
Looks good.
when we did the movie, but now you don't have it. So it's the
Exactly.
opposite.
And our head of story, Don Hall. Hi,
Don
Don.
Hall.
Hey, everybody. How's it going?
It's good to see you too. Oh my gosh, beautiful
Likewise.
faces. Everybody looks fantastic. Okay, so I'm going to jump in with the kid cast first because we're all among the same age here, and I just want to know, what is it like to be as a kid? You get to go into the studio and just do all these voices. So was it like working with Steve and some of the crew who were kind of helping you, like feed you lines to do some fun work?
Jordan, who wants to go first?
I think you want to go first, man. You got this.
Okay. Well, I remember. So I was 10 when I recorded the voice of Goob. So it was a long time ago. And you're at like an age when it's like, I don't know. I have like some. I just remember it was always really fun. That was like still to this day one of my favorite projects I've ever like worked on. It was just it was just very fun.
You had a blast.
I just remember everybody being like very nice. It's
I think Steve has
I'm trying to crack into the mind of a 10-year-old again and remember like what
I know it was a while ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would like to also iterate. It was very fun for me as well. I really enjoyed working with Steve a lot. So he always just made it a lot of fun. It was really fun being in the studio with him and riffing off and hearing him do all of his different voices. How many voices did you do in the movie? It was like, I don't know, like 5 or something, right?
I don't know, 3, I think. Maybe.
Okay, something like that. Well, it was
laying it down.
More than 1, less than 5. So it was still a decent amount. But yeah, no, it was a blast. I had really good time doing that.
Yeah, it's funny because I feel like I normalized the atmosphere of being in a very, very nice recording studio because I got to do that when I was younger. So I was like, oh yeah, this is just what voice acting is.
Yeah.
You just have these resources if you're a voice actor. And as I've gotten older, I learned that that is indeed not the case, as I recorded from my closet during all of COVID. But even before that, I mean, there's just so many varying levels, and I think I partially took for granted, but just wasn't even aware that it was something to be taken for granted. Just the ability to have such great people, equipment, space to create and to like make those funny voices in. So it was just, first off, that. But second, it's funny because I feel like you were saying, Matt, like trying to get yourself back into your 10-year-old brain. I played so many sassy, strong little girls that I feel like that just is part of my character makeup because I voiced young Franny, but I also voiced Chaka. Somebody mentioned earlier on, Emperor's New Groove, but in The Emperor's New School and then the sequel, Kronk's New Groove, I played Chaka, and then Toph and Avatar. So all these like very sassy, like 10 to 12-year-olds. That is just like where I live. So I was like, oh, that's just who I was apparently. So when I think of that, I very much didn't have to try hard, first of all. But I also think that's because I was never treated as a child. I never felt like I was being talked down to or somebody was like trying to dumb things down for me. I felt very much like I was collaborating. I was like working with somebody in the booth, which was great. So props to you guys for, you know, clearly communicating well, because I never felt like, oh, I'm the kid here. I just felt like, yeah, I'm an actress at work. Yay.
Yeah.
Which is great.
That's great. That's
Because they
very
usually
cool.
have that phrase of don't work with animals or children, but Steve has such great stories of working with you guys.
I hope I wasn't too high maintenance.
No. I was telling Tammy earlier, I remembered there's the line, I teach frogs music. If you remember anything. And I remember us just trying to figure out, okay, should we make a joke out of it? And she sings kind of badly, off key, or should she actually be good at music and sing it properly, like with a nice voice?
Yeah.
And I remember us discussing that quite a bit. But that was, yeah.
So funny.
And I have, Matthew, I remember you would come in, and I don't know if you knew this or not, but I would just chat with you for, 10, 15 minutes before the sessions. And we were recording all of that.
I did not know that.
Because we thought, hey, there might be some good little bits and pieces we can always like repurpose and put in the movie. So I've got all that on recording somewhere.
Oh, wow.
That would be pull that up
on a CD.
Yeah, let's do that.
By the way, you mentioned something that I also like totally. I feel like I know exactly what you're talking about. When, like, at that age, I had no idea how like awesome that was, like, of an experience. Because like you're 10 and you're just like, oh, this is kind of like, I don't know. I just like was just doing it, and I'd acted on stuff even before. I started acting when I was 5, so I've been doing stuff for like 5 years prior to that, and I worked on like Chicken Little too 2 years earlier. So I was just like, oh, I thought this is kind of like a normal thing. You're recording for movies and doing voices and stuff. And the older I've gotten, like, I've realized like how cool that is. I'm like, wow, that was a really incredible experience. Like quite an interesting thing to have been able to do.
Yeah, I agree. I was actually
it's
funny.
hard to comprehend.
Yeah, totally. No, it's like just like, oh yeah, no, it's I'm just going to my day job, because I'm 11 and that's what I do.
Driving onto the lot. Just
I was just like out playing football with my friends. My mom's like, all right, we got to go to the studio. I was like, Mom, 10 more minutes. She was like, nope, time to go to work.
All right,
fine.
So funny. Well, we've been talking about another character, Doris, throughout this entire reunion. And Don, apparently you have a very strong connection with Doris because you were kind of created her as a character. Can you tell me about that?
Yeah, I guess. I remember, now I'm going back 15 years. It's a little, the older you get, the harder it gets. But we had this concept for the bowler hat guy, as sort of this, the big bad in the movie. And, it just, like any story, when you're putting together like the villain, I feel like this is a very Disney problem. Like, I'm sure they faced it on, like, Ron and John probably faced it on Aladdin. It's like, okay, who's Jafar going to talk to? He's got a parrot. And it's sort of the same thing, it's like, well, he's by himself a lot, right? Bowler hat guy. So you gotta, you need somebody to talk to and interface with. And so we thought maybe the hat could become his sort of henchman. And then we devised this whole, horrible, like, that was the secret villain in the movie, was this hat that had been wronged and had a point of view and was gonna get revenge. And it's one of those, like, I remember it's like Meet the Robinsons was such a wonderful kind of snapshot of what our process is like when it works the best, where and this is Steve, this is all, to Steve's credit, you're creating a story room where ideas can be expressed. Any idea can be expressed. Like, hey, what if the hat was the real villain in the movie and wanted to get revenge? And, nobody's like, that's the stupidest idea ever. It's like, no, okay, we'll play with that. And it kind of takes on a life of its own. And ended up in the movie. But yeah, I'd forgotten until you mentioned that, Tammy. I'd forgotten all about that. Now it's taking me back. But it was really fun. I mean, and then, showing sort of this dystopian future of what happens when Doris takes over. Giant bowler hats everywhere.
Changes the architecture into
It
bowler
got
hat.
big and kind of crazy, but it was so much fun. I don't even remember where the name Doris came from. Do you, Steve? I honestly, I can't. Do we just pull it out of?
I think it was just one of those like, hey,
Doris.
what should we call her? It would be funny if
Doris.
it had a female name. I don't know.
Doris,
All of a sudden, the hat's a she. But I remember.
That was
Go
a
ahead.
surprising moment. No, yeah, I remember that being like, wait,
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Shocker, like Empire Strikes Back. It was,
Yeah.
it was on par with
Not
that.
I think a lot of us were. I remember being in the movie theater going, wait, Goob
took a turn.
is bowler hat guy and Doris is the bad guy. Like it,
yeah.
it didn't compute.
No.
And then it's like, oh, it makes sense.
Yeah.
I also remember. I remember, Don, though, you being very particular about the original script. You had to board the science fair sequence, and this was before you boarded the science fair sequence a bajillion times, like Joe and Ryan did bajillion times.
Yeah.
Other sequences. But the script very specifically said that the villain wore a bowler hat, and there was no reason for it. It was just a character description. And I remember you saying, why does the writer just keep saying he's wearing a bowler hat? There's no reason for it. And you were like, let's give a reason for there to be a bowler hat. And then
if we're going bowler hat, let's justify the bowler hat.
Exactly.
Because it was a choice. It was a choice.
It was.
We have Anna in the chat saying, this is one of the most important movies to me as a kid. It got me through hard times. Thank you all for making something so special.
Oh, thanks,
very
Anna.
sweet.
Oh, that's really
an
really
honor.
beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you.
And then we have Brandon saying a truly wonderful animation moment. Of course. I actually do have a clip of some of the cast. I don't know if this is everybody. You might see some familiar faces. We do have pictures too, but here's a little clip from behind the scenes of the cast.
Voices, I really like to look for people who have a theater background or an improvisation background, people who really understand the notion of how to create a character and a big, larger-than-life character.
2153, take one. Well, does inventing cows a sport?
It's about having fun.
Yay! Hooray! I didn't know there was going to be reading involved. Who dares to disturb my sanctuary?
We have Harlan Williams as Carl the robot.
Now the entire time stream could be altered.
That and someone took my bike.
We have Laurie Metcalf as Dr. Krunkelhorn.
Ooh, me! Pick me! Pick me!
Nicole Sullivan as Franny, Wilbur's mom.
5 years ago, he wakes up in the middle of the night in a cold sweat, wants to build a time machine.
We have Angela Bassett as Mildred.
Louis! The Harringtons are here!
Playing Uncle Art as Adam West.
That reminds me of when Gaston first invented his meatball cannon.
Playing Cornelius Robinson, the founder of the future, we have Tom Selleck.
I give you my latest invention for Robinson Industries.
My mom was happy with that casting choice.
I'm sure many were.
And then Steve sent some pictures. So,
Oh.
is that Matt?
Oh my goodness.
Matt
You were
with
so
John
cute. What
Ruppel.
happened? No,
I know, right?
That was the facial hair.
It's the facial hair, man. That's what it is.
Yeah.
With John Ruppel. And there's Nick Raniere and Jordan.
There you are, Jordan.
Oh my goodness. I don't remember that picture at all. Look how cool I was, though. Don't have the peace sign.
Peace sign, man. Look at
Dang.
that.
You could probably sell that shirt for like $200 today.
I think it's in Goodwill somewhere. So
That
probably
is vintage right there.
Yeah, I
Give
know.
it back.
Dang.
Great.
And there's another shot of you, Jordan.
Oh, wow.
Yep. With on the left is Daniel Hansen, who was Lewis .1.
Yeah.
And Jordan was Lewis .2, I guess, or
0.2,
something.
Yeah.
And then on the right is Wesley Singerman, the voice of Wilbur.
All right, yeah.
It's so adorable. And then Here's a picture of you guys finally meeting the characters.
Wow.
Oh my gosh.
That was a pretty cool day.
Oh gosh. And there's Dale on the far
fantastic.
right. We just
Yep.
lost Dale about a year ago. So we miss you, Dale. But yeah, these are
Yeah.
just great, wonderful. So the bowler hat guy still makes appearances at Disney for the Villains Night. So which is really, really cool. I just have not
He's
met
iconic.
him. For sure. Of course he's iconic. He's like the most iconic.
My friend was just telling me that there's like a Reddit, like subreddit about bowler hat guy. There's some conspiracy or something about that he. The internet takes things and they go crazy with it. But
that he's Tarzan's parents or something like that. Like one of those. Like,
no, I don't even think it's
connected.
I don't even think it's Disney related. It's like Illuminati related. Even more fun.
Yeah. Well, that's true. That's actually true.
That's where you got the inspiration from.
Checks out.
It's the bowler hats from the future came back in time and gave you the idea for the movie. Yeah. Or I'm assuming anyway.
Full circle.
Yep.
And Steve, you were telling me the story about how you needed to find a Lewis 2.0, and you were watching a specific movie. So what was that movie?
Yeah. So we were having real trouble because Daniel Hansen and Wesley Singerman, both the original Lewis and Wilbur, were growing up and their voices were changing and we weren't able to use them anymore. So we needed somebody that we were either going to replace Daniel, the first Lewis, or needed a sound-alike that we could kind of slot in alongside Daniel's other lines of dialogue that we were keeping. And right about that time is when Charlie and the Chocolate Factory came out in theaters. Went to see that, and I was sitting there watching it, and then I was like, my TV was coming on, and I thought, wait a minute, and I kind of started watching the movie with my eyes closed, trying to hear Daniel's voice in my head up against Mike TV's voice and see Lewis's face in my head, and I was like, I think that kid is a match. And so went back to Disney on Monday morning and talked to the casting folks and said, we should get Jordan Fry in here to see how that works. And it worked like crazy. There are moments in the movie where like there's one sentence is half Daniel and half Jordan. I mean, it was like,
wow,
you were seamless. You were perfect, Jordan.
I didn't know.
Oh, shucks. Thanks. It's funny. It's actually cool hearing your perspective of the story now. Cause I mean, I was just told this like regurgitated from my mom when I was 13. And so, I like get bits and pieces of the story, but actually funny enough. So when you guys brought me in to do it, so when I did Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, that was my first time like ever doing a big movie. And so all I knew about like the audition process and everything was that one, I think, went through 5 rounds of auditions. So it was like 2 in Seattle, 2 in LA, and then they flew us over to England. So there were 5 auditions to get that part. And so my mom told me, oh yeah, we're going into Disney because they're doing this movie and they want you to read for it to see if it'll work. I was like, okay, cool. And that's the last I heard of it. 6 sessions later, I'm like, so when am I going to find out if I've got this part or not? And she was like, you've had it for the last like 5 sessions that we've done.
Oh, that's funny.
So I was basically auditioning for like the first half of the filming process of it.
You're like, what else do I have to do for these people?
Yeah, like, how many times do they need me to read these lines? Like, and I was like thinking when I was a kid, I was like, they're trying to rip us off. They're gonna just like take my voice and just use it and be like, oh no, well no, you didn't get the part. But it turns out I had it for the last like couple of months, and I was unaware. Yeah.
So you were doing it simultaneously. You did it after Charlie. So
yeah.
Okay, so what was it like to go from huge sets to the recording booth? Like, did you like it a little bit better because it wasn't as hectic?
Geez. Yeah, I mean, I've got that question a lot. I think it's kind of what Matt said earlier. I was a kid and I was just like, oh, this is just what I do. Like, you don't really think about, like, you don't really empathize with other people quite the same way when you're a kid. It's just like life is what it is. And this is just, I'm like, my life is normal and I'm having a normal life experience because you have no reason to believe anything else. And so I did Charlie. And then after that, I was like, our family moved to LA and I didn't really care about acting so much. It was just like, it's just what I did. Like I went to school and then I had an audition and then I'd go audition for it and then I'd come back and play football with my friends and then I'd have another audition and then this happened and it was like, oh, this is now what I'm doing. So I was like, so I mean, yeah, I can't say like definitively like which one I liked better. I had a really good experience both times, and I think both productions were really fun, and the people working on it found ways to make it really fun and really engaging and interesting, especially for a kid, because like it's hard to keep, especially probably me, Steve can maybe attest to that, focused and working, because I was just like, I was not like a professional child actor. This was my second big project. I did not know anything of like how to conduct yourself like a professional in like the movie setting. Like I probably didn't work quite as much as Michaela or Matt at the time. So I was just like the kid, and I was like, all right, you want me talking to a mic? I'll talk into a mic. Yeah, so
you did a great job talking into a mic.
Oh, stop it. Thank you. You guys are too much.
Michaela, Matt, do you guys get asked about Meet the Robinsons a lot?
Yes. Yeah. People always ask me to do the voice, and I'm like, you do realize the voice has changed a lot over the. I'm like, I can't.
You're wearing the hat today, though, so like you came ready.
I am. Yes. You know what? I have a little. Oh, here it is. I got my. I found this literally. This week, too, which is
yeah. I'm gonna make you
mine's
big
in
screen
my,
here.
Mine's in my center console.
Hold it up again. There we go. Oh.
There he is.
So tired.
So
tired. So tired.
It's perfect for me because I'm always tired all the time too. So I'm like, okay, maybe.
Yeah.
The most relatable Disney kid character
Really?
ever.
Yeah.
For the adults, all the adults are like, we feel you.
Yeah.
I do get asked about young Franny. I go to some anime conventions now. I just started kind of going to these last year, and so I make sure to bring a little shot of her. And there's
make it big here so you can show it.
Big. Yeah. So I love this scene. I feel like that's very fitting of just her whole everything is this snapshot right here. But there's always like 2 to 3 people, and they're just like, I'm obsessed with Meet the Robinsons, and they only want that print. They don't care about anything else I've done. They just like want to talk about Meet the Robinsons and how inspirational it is. And some people have like keep moving forward like as their family motto or like tattooed on them. It's just like it's really cool. So it's started kind of trickling back in, and then when I heard that there's this little reunion going on, I was like, yes, let's talk about it more. But yeah, it's really cool.
And Don, you're still with Disney, so you're still keeping busy. But does Meet the Robinsons come up a lot, or do you kind of go back to that experience when you're pulling for future, work and experience about like what you'd like a film to be and the experience of just making it?
Yeah, I mean, for sure. To me, it was pretty foundational in terms of just establishing a process, how to work, sort of best practices, if you will. Because we didn't, we were very small. You've probably gotten into this a little bit in some of the other sessions, but we were a pretty small little team, and Steve was storyboarding as well. So it was just the 5 of us, I think.
It was 5 people, 3 story artists, you and me. Yeah.
That did pretty much the whole movie. That's crazy. That has not happened now at all, but that to me was something to aspire to, could be because the reasons why we were all so creatively just locked into the movie, and we all got to contribute in a very robust way. It's not every meeting was it was a small group of people, so you couldn't hide in the corner and just doodle. Because you just couldn't. Like if you're in a room with 15 or 16 people, you can kind of be like, I'm just going to sit this one out and kind of doodle. You could not do that and Meet the Robinsons because we're all there. We're all tasked with doing the story. And it was just a very wonderful, healthy kind of, like I said, best practices type of feeling. And I've tried to duplicate that as best I can on everything I've done since then, with varying degrees of success. But it was I just looked, it was such a fun, especially I just remember the first screening, and maybe you've talked about this a lot in some of the other sessions, but that we were adamant that we were gonna do the whole movie for the first screening, which up to that point was pretty revolutionary. Generally, that didn't happen. And screening is a storyboard version of the movie. If you haven't talked about that yet, but and we did it very fast. I mean, it was so fast that we couldn't second guess ourselves, which made for this wonderful first screening. And that everybody, I just remember that was a really cool moment when everybody stood up and applauded and gave the standing O for that first screening. It was truly one of I'm super old now, so I've been at Disney a long time, but that was in my career, that was one of the moments I'll never forget. That moment, it was so cool. So I don't know, that was a long answer to a very short question, so sorry.
Well, we were talking a little earlier how we thought it might have been cool to see it like a TV series, but my thing is, wouldn't it be cool to see the three of you, Jordan, Matt, and Michaela, come back and do like a college type of representation of like how most of us are right now, of the characters and how they're kind of like going to the new world. Like, wouldn't that be cool to see you guys come back? I would love to see something like that.
Yeah, Steven. So,
yeah,
Steven.
I'll be in college again, sure.
I'm working on that right now. Typing it up right now.
That would be so cool to see something like that happen. You know what I mean? Do you guys remember the actual, opening night, the presentation and walking the carpet?
Flickers of things like that. They're like little snapshots. I mean, I feel like that's probably similar to you guys, of just around that whole time period, because there was very interesting, like, it's like, my neighbor, this weird bird I saw in my driveway, a premiere. Like, it's like weird snapshots of like,
yeah, I get
like
that
10.
totally.
So yeah, I mean, like, I do, but I definitely don't remember, the conversation details or exactly, how I necessarily felt about the whole thing. It's like little bits and pieces. That's how everything is, basically, from 4 or 5 years old onwards. Just like these little captures.
Yeah. I remember a lot of fortune cookies. Yeah, and they all said the same thing. I was like, I'm trying to keep moving forward. I gotta keep moving forward. Like, okay, I get it.
That is
I remember and then I remember well, this one was the same as the Charlie and Chalk Factory premiere. I was completely premiere. I was completely oblivious to it. I was like, wow, these people keep letting me cut in line for the games. That's really nice of them.
I remember, because the El Capitan was just such it's where all the premieres happened, and so it was exciting, because I remember I went for something else as a guest, like with a friend, and then this one I was like, oh, it's so different when you're in it. Like, it was so cool.
Yeah.
And I forget, there was like it's coming back to me now. We just had to open up the little can. There was like a splatter paint little mini plate project that was like an art thing that was like interactive. That was fun. And then there was something where you got to like race in a big blow up ball and go back and forth. That was fun. I also was confused when like the Jonas Brothers were playing, because I was like, wait, what?
Oh, yeah.
Wait,
and then I was like, oh, they say, oh, right. I was like, what's happening?
I was the same thing, because I met like a lot of celebrities there, but I didn't know who they were.
Yeah.
I was 11. They weren't my celebrities. I was like, now
they were just
back,
starting.
Yeah, now I'm like watching like SNL or something like that, or Silicon Valley, and I look back and I'm just like, oh, I guess I worked with that person.
Yes,
I didn't know that. I knew like Tom Selleck because they told me about him, and then the Jonas Brothers. And so like the only like the one kind of cool interaction I remember was like on the red carpet standing there, and then the Jonas Brothers were next to me. And then one of them looks over and is like, so
that's so crazy.
Oh, cool. It's about the Jonas Brothers.
That's crazy, because I also remember it in very like little bits and pieces. But the one thing that I don't know why, because I didn't really even know who they were at the time either. But the one thing that I vividly remember is the Jonas Brothers. That I don't know
Right?
why, just shaking their
Yep.
hands, like that moment. Like when you could see.
Oh,
a
you
moment
gotta
just
shake their
so-
hands.
Yeah, I didn't.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
think I shook anybody's hand.
Dang, man.
All right, Goob. Goob's making a comeback.
Yeah, I remember where it was too. It was in the back. Like, do you guys remember they had that big tent, and then they had like
Yes.
different events that you could go into, right? And you could like
Yep.
Yes.
throw like a ball at a thing. It was like kind of
That's
these events.
that's
Do you know
like
which
the
one I'm
only thing
talking
I
about?
remember is like knocking the balls down.
Yeah,
That's all that
so
mattered to me as a
I
kid.
remember that thing, and then I remember meeting the Jonas Brothers.
Yep,
so
yep.
vividly. Everything else
Same.
flickers. Yeah,
We
just like-
lived like half of America's dream, and we didn't even know.
I know.
Yeah.
We had no
We're
idea.
living
I we had no idea. I was like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
It's like
so
right
funny
around
being
like year
10.
3000 came out around the time.
Oh,
but
yeah.
the song they did
I
for the
think
movie
Yeah.
was
It
Kids of
was
the Future.
happening.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, those were the days. I
Yeah.
just remember that. So I remember just listening to the songs on Radio Disney when Radio Disney was a
Radio
thing. It
Disney,
was like,
man.
Wow. That's a
I had
throwback.
CDs of Radio Disney hits.
yes, I have cassette tapes of Radio Disney stuff. Like throwing it really way back.
I was like, I'm gonna be on Radio Disney one day, and I was like, well,
Yeah. I
Guess
well,
not.
yeah, I
Where did it
know.
go?
I know it's such a bummer. Like again, you said you were in the Emperor's New School, and it just like boggles my mind how really Meet the Robinsons wasn't picked up for anything else. You know what I mean? Like I know it did better than a lot of other Disney films, so it kind
Yes.
of bums me out because I really would have loved to have seen a continuation of it. I think a lot of
Mhm.
people would love to see something like that at some point or another because it's just so happy and exciting and fun and not negative.
I think there
Yeah.
was
Right.
just so much coming out that year. I mean, in all of those, there was like
Yeah.
a 3-year cluster. Just so much good content was being released. So it's like, it had a lot of competition. But also, I
Yeah.
think part of the reason why is it's not just a kids movie. It's just a good movie, period.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's harder to sell sometimes because it's
Mm.
not as niche. It's just like, it's just a good movie. Like everyone can watch it, you know?
I'm a little biased, but I also really liked it.
Yeah, just a little. It was pretty good.
It does have a lot of really weird elements to it. So at the time, I was like, all you got to do is throw a bunch of weird stuff on the screen, and people will go, I want to see that. But now, cut to today, I'm like, I guess I could kind of see why maybe people were a little confused by the movie because there's so many. I mean, there's an emotional story. There's a kind of more science fiction-y time travel story. There's talking frogs. There's like all these weird, which I think is what's fun and totally unique about the movie. But I could also see how it might have been really tough to figure out how to kind of encapsulate it to market it for an audience. Maybe I don't know.
Oh, I don't
Yes.
know. Maybe.
Well, we have Crazy Panda Kitty says, other than your own character on Meet the Robinsons, which character do you relate to the most?
Man.
I'm
I
speaking
mean,
of
I
you.
always thought that Wilbur was the coolest one. I was like, I really liked him a lot. I was like, shoot, man, wish I could have been Wilbur. Well, just because it's animation, because I looked at my animation, I was like, I'm a nerd. Like, but then Wilbur was like this cool, like slick back hair and all that
Yeah.
stuff. But I mean, he did a fantastic job, and I did a fantastic job as Lewis, and we were in our correct roles. I'm just kidding. But
You guys did really great. Yes.
Absolutely.
Stop it.
Everybody
Stop
was
it,
so
guys.
Fantastic. I loved it. Oh my
You did a
gosh.
good job, guys. I feel like first of all, I mean, young Franny in general is definitely like, so I feel that girl. She's like, I'm right. Listen to me.
Yes.
I promise. I
girl
promise
power.
it'll make sense. And then it does. But I honestly think, and it was probably written this way on purpose, but I feel like there's a little bit of Lewis everywhere, that just second guessing and like, I've got something. Dang it, I don't. Nobody's believing in me. Nobody's listening to me. Gosh, this is so frustrating. And I feel like I don't fit anywhere. And it just is, it's annoying. And everybody has the moments in some aspect. So yeah, I definitely felt some of those moments for sure.
Mhm.
Yes. Yeah.
Yay!
There they all are.
And she's got a cool dress on. She's got her heels on. I mean, come on, she's great.
Dude,
We
and I
love her.
love the animation in this movie too.
Yeah.
It's so different.
Yeah.
It's not like the typical Disney way. And it's like the newer way of doing animated films. Like obviously without this, we wouldn't have Frozen.
Yeah.
But it's so cool because somebody just brought up, hold on, where is it here? Brandon just brought up, also can't forget the song Little Wonders from Robh Thomas.
Yes.
And the lyrics start, let it go. Let it roll right off your shoulder. Don't you know? The hardest part is over. Let it in.
Whoa.
Hey.
Disney
See?
conspiracy.
Crazy.
I was gonna bring that up when we were talking about the Jonas Brothers thing, but I couldn't remember the name. But that song, like, I love that song, and I didn't realize that it was written for Meet the Robinsons, right?
Yeah, I believe that Robh. I think when we first met him, he sort of had an idea of a song, and he was like, "I think I got something that might work for the movie." So he was sort of building something on the side, but as soon as I heard it, and the first line was "Let it go," because knowing "Keep moving forward" was the theme of the movie. Obviously, I was like, okay, even if it wasn't written for the movie, it belongs in the movie because it was the perfect. And it's interesting because we had in all of the storyboard screenings up until when we put that song in, we had Tempt in the song "I Can See Clearly Now," which is a little more upbeat. I mean, it's not like a fast-paced song, but it's kind of that sort of peppy, bubbly kind of positive thing. And then when we put in the first demo of Little Wonders, it's positive, but it's so much more kind of melancholy and kind of a little more emotional that I do remember some people were pulling me aside and going, "I don't know, is that the final song? Is that what you're gonna do?" And it's like, "It'll be fine. Don't worry." Because you have such muscle memory from screening these movies it's not really millions, but feels like millions of times over the course of 3 or 4 years. So it was a little bit of a shock to people, but yeah, I felt like, okay, that's the right way to end the movie for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I loved it in the movie theater. I remember hearing that song. I was like, oh, it's not something that's like really upbeat. You know how the Lego movie's like, everything is awesome. Like it ended on a really lovely note because we didn't expect the ending of Louis not wanting to see his mom. I think that's what really threw me as a kid for a loop because it's like, oh, we're gonna see who it is, and then we don't, and then you're like, oh, but that's okay because he has this other family. So that was something I really remembered as a kid. I was like, oh, this is so different. It kind of reminded me of, it was just unique to have that be a surprise, in a Disney animated film. You don't get that a lot. So
and I don't.
It really matched the vibe that you guys were going with too, like the really heartfelt, deep. I mean, I think it would have cheapened it for it to be like an upbeat, "Aren't we so glad that we wouldn't watch this movie?" Kind of song at the end of it, the kind of canned. But like it really was like an actually powerful message, and I mean, and I hope in a not narcissistic way, but like because it's always kind of weird, when you were a part of something and then you say like that it actually like really spoke to you or really impacted you. But like really, there have been several times, over the course of my life where looking back at the overall message of that movie, and it's like I kind of roll my eyes at myself, but it's like, yeah, you're right. Keep moving forward. Like, not everything's not always awesome. And I think like I'm honored to be able to be a part of a movie that has such a powerful message. Like even in the small role that I played, I mean, listening back to, all the work that you guys put into it and obviously actually writing it. But I'm honored to be able to have played like a small part in it of something that does have a powerful message that has actually impacted me multiple times when I've been going through difficult times. It's just like, you know what? Sometimes you just let the past go and keep moving forward. I mean, as simple as it is, but it's really powerful.
That's great. That's awesome.
So I literally got a little on my soapbox there.
No, it's a
lovely.
perfect
Thank you.
note to end on. I really appreciate you guys being a part of the reunion, and Steve has to give away the book. We have a winner, and I just sent you the name. So if everybody could do a drum roll, I'm gonna have Steve read the name of our winner this evening, and it is.
I need better glasses. The winner is Aaron Bator.
Oh,
Aaron.
Go, Aaron.
Woo!
And I'll
You
send
will
you.
receive this. Lovely.
Oh yeah, so cool. By
Meet
the
the
way, I was
Robinsons.
watching earlier. That is awesome. That's so cool that you still have that.
Yes, I have a whole
Cool.
box of them.
So
Who else
Aaron
wants one? You get a book. And you get
Check under your chair.
Awesome. Well, congratulations. I can't even talk. Congratulations, Aaron. I'll send you an email. And I just want to thank everybody who has been a part of this and joining us this evening. If you'd like to see more interviews and reunions, please feel free to subscribe to my channel and share this conversation with your friends on social media. I'm sure a lot of people who love Meet the Robinsons would love to see everybody talk about it this evening. It was so much fun to be a part of this. You could follow me on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook, and my website's tammytuckey.com. Also, again, thanks again to the cast and crew for being a part of this. And also to everybody who has been in the chat. There are so many chat messages. We've had over 60 people watching tonight. Thank you guys so much for sticking in for 2 hours and asking all your questions. And as always, remember to keep moving forward. So good night, everybody.
Yay. Thank you all. So great to see you all.
Good to see you guys.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye. Have a good night.
We'll see you soon. Okay, here we go. Bye, everybody.